Tell me what piece of work you are most proud of.
Well, probably as far as my most recent work, it would probably be Future Imperfect with the Incredible Hulk that I worked on with Peter David from Marvel. It was like the longest story that I had ever worked on that I penciled and inked. So it was, I managed to keep a consistent quality from beginning to end, even though the last 7 pages I drew in 3 days with almost no sleep at all. But it was worth it just to have one entire story that I managed to see through creatively on all levels. While I have enjoyed Saxon Violence since then, working again with Peter David, the fact that I wasn't able to ink the last 2 issues because I just wasn't fast enough to ink 4 monthly issues in a row tarnished my feeling of that being my best work, because I think any artist would like his next work to be his best work. But I think the first 2 issues of Saxon Violence was definitely a step forward from Future Imperfect. I just would like to be able to do a project wherein I can do Future Imperfect quality throughout the entire run. And basically the only way I can do that is not have a deadline, obviously. I mean, the second you give me a deadline, you're probably asking for trouble. And like when I do my own creator-owned series, in this case Gladiator, which should be published by Image, the whole unusual working arrangement is that all 12 issues of that first story arc, which has a definite beginning and end, will be drawn before the first issue is solicited. So I will be working on Gladiator for 1.5 years without pay, and I'll take it all on the back end. I figure if I would like to get dealer and distributor and fan loyalty and faith that this book will come out as a quality product on time, I'll do everything in my power to make the sacrifices needed for that. And then they, in turn, hopefully, in the case of the dealers, that they will give the correct promotion, exhibition space, everything on their part to make it successful, because I'll figure I will have done everything that good faith could possibly have asked me to do in the fact that I am putting my reputation on the line and hoping that my reputation is also strong enough to sell a book. And during the time I'm working on that, I'll be penciling Malibu's Ultra Force. That'll pay for Gladiator. I mean, 1.5 years of doing work with no money is not exactly the smartest move economically.
So, is there anything you can tell us about Gladiator?
No.
Okay, good. I'll move on.
All I can say about Gladiator is that by the time the character reaches its 12th issue, I will have turned the entire series into a different series, because it was conceived as a beginning and an end, like a finite series, even though there would be possibilities of extending it. So I did have definite beginnings of characters, definite endings of characters, and that does not mean that the Gladiator is excused from that possible ending part of the story.
Okay. Moving on then, back to Future Imperfect. Was there anything when you were drawing it in Rick Jones' trophy room that you especially got a kick out of, that you giggled to yourself?
Yes, putting Tom Servo and Crow T. Robot from Mystery Science Theater 3000 into the trophy room, not knowing at the time I drew them that Peter David was also an MST3K fan. So I thought I'd be explaining it to him exactly who the characters were, and he said, I know who they are! He had no idea that I was going to do that, because in the case of Future Imperfect, the way I worked is I laid out the page very loosely, indicating where the characters are, like large thumbnails, large layouts. And Peter scripted from that, so he did not even see the finished pencils until the book was printed, when it was penciled and inked. So he had no idea what I was going to be putting into the museum shelves. He only knew that certain things that were story-oriented were going to be there, that Thor's hammer would be there, that Cap's shield would be there, the Silver Surfer's board, because they were all part of Peter's story. Beyond that, he had no idea what it was going to do, and he had no idea that I would end up filling up the museum to such a degree that he ended up making a contest out of it.
That was fascinating. We were reading it and going through and trying to go. I think every comic book publisher ever was somehow included in that layout.
Yeah, just about. A lot of independents also made it in there, yes. Major and minor. Herbie Popnecker's Lollipops, even Flair's cape from Heroic Comics. Yes, I was sneaking everybody in.
That's neat. Well, I guess you're known a lot as a team artist. So out of the Avengers, JLA, Titans, what are you most proud of? What means a lot to you?
Well, Titans, because Titans had the biggest uphill battle, and it was the book that no one thought would succeed. Since it was coming in at a time when DC Comics was not exactly setting the world afire sales-wise, and it was the first DC comic to actually give Marvel's titles a run for their money, that it was consistently in direct market in the top 10, sometimes in the top 5, at the time when Marvel's hold on comic book audience was extremely strong. So that one, what it did for my career, what it did for DC, and what it did for the creative community as well, in which, because it was the first mainstream comic to start the royalty program. So there was a lot of stuff Marv Wolfman and I have to be proud of when it comes to the Titans. And as much as I enjoyed the Titans, other books have given me greater satisfaction as far as what they also did for my career. Wonder Woman, it gave me a chance to do my own writing, plus it was a book that, similar to the Titans at the beginning, but even more so because of Wonder Woman's past sales reputation, required that I do really good work to make it sell, that I try as hard as I can. And Wonder Woman sold well too, so I feel a great feeling of accomplishment, considering I think her sales while I was on the book were something like 3 or 4 times, if not more, than they were for the past 2.5 decades. So that I feel very proud of that.
Well, since you were so proud of the Titans, I guess you'll get asked this a lot. Why'd you leave?
I left because it was too successful. The strangest reason, because my wife actually has joked about the fact that I seem to make a lot of decisions where I seem deliberately to avoid making money. Because of the Titans being a monthly book, and during the course of the Titans, I was making concerted efforts to improve as an artist. That effort required more time in the drawing process, so it was becoming a lot harder to do a monthly book, particularly a monthly book of full pencils with all the detail that was inherent in my full penciling. So I had to start doing layouts on the book, wherein the responsibility of the finished look went more and more to the inker. And once I started giving up that, I started first losing a little interest in it, because it wasn't my best work. Yet, despite the fact that I wasn't doing my best work, it was selling through the roof. And I really didn't want people who were buying the Titans, and they were legion to say the least, to think this was my best work. That no matter what I did, whether I did what I considered mediocre work or took a long time, that it would sell well. I needed more of a challenge, so I left Titans. I remember informing Marv, and together we informed Dick Giordano, that I was leaving the book. Absolutely no malice, no rancor whatsoever. It's just the fact that it was no longer a challenge. It was too easy. It was too easy a way of making money. That I'd rather do a book like Wonder Woman that required me to do more effort, because there was more writing on my efforts than would have been on Titans. And when I returned to Titans years later, I think having had so much creative freedom on Wonder Woman, the chemistry between Marv and me was not the same, because now we both had different visions, and it was not as easy to compromise anymore. So after a few issues wherein I wasn't enjoying it as much as I thought I would, I moved on and let Marv stay on it, since he had been on it during the entire period I was gone, and just moved on to other projects.
I do think that's